Hi, welcome to yet another episode of A Guitarist's Guide to Improvising with Knowledge. I'm Greg Studley, author of the book and developer of the website improvisingwithknowledge.com. Today we're going to cover actually how to play over chord progressions. Rather than just a single minor chord or a single major chord, we're going to start moving through chord progressions. All the exercises and examples we're going to do today are available as PDF files on the website, so you can grab them whenever you need them. First, we're going to cover minor chord progressions, then we're going to switch on over and take major chord progressions. Be sure you have an understanding of a few things at this point, which is all the available notes across the E strings, your major pentatonic scale shape E4, and your minor pentatonic scale shape E1. If you're unfamiliar with these, definitely go back to the previous episodes because we're going to be utilizing all this stuff at this point. Starting off with minor chord progressions. We're going to take the chord progression B minor, E minor, F sharp minor, and E minor, with each chord having a duration of 4 measures. Although this entire chord progression is within the key of B minor, this is the essential part. We're not going to play just the B minor pentatonic scale. Many other sources you'll find are saying, well, it's in the key of B minor, you can sit in that key the whole time. It's not the ideal way to play. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to follow the chord progression. Meaning, when we're on the B minor chord, we are going to play the B minor pentatonic scale. But when it moves to the E minor chord, we're going to shift over to the E minor pentatonic scale. As we're on the F sharp minor, we'll do the same thing. We'll shift into the F sharp minor pentatonic scale. This is the best method for improvising, is to follow the chords. You essentially have no wrong notes because every scale exactly will fit the chord that it's being played with. There's 3 steps to prepare yourself for improvising over a chord progression. First step is to play the roots. This gives your hand an idea of its position on the neck. Secondly, you play the scales. This way you find out all your available notes. And third, you should be comfortable enough to start improvising over the chord progression. So we're going to take this chord progression and take step 1. We're going to play the low roots of this scale with our first finger. So we will be playing our B minor pentatonic in 7th position, our root down here. We'll be playing our E low root off the low E string. Our F sharp, we'll put our hand into 2nd position. And our last E, we're going to go all the way up to 12th position to get our high E. So here is playing the roots through the chord progression. At this point, you should be pretty comfortable in understanding where your hand position is for each of these scales, which is why now you take the second step, which is to actually play the scales. We will be taking the minor pentatonic scale shape E1 and applying it to each of these hand positions that we've now found by following the chords. We'll be starting each of these from their lowest available root, and we'll be playing the scales as 8th notes. Because we're playing as 8th notes, be sure that you are alternate picking throughout, alternating your downstrokes and your upstrokes for your 8th notes. Now, if you want to gain an even more solid understanding of these steps, you can play all of it starting from high roots. You could do your high roots through the chord progression, and then you can play your scales starting from the high roots, and you'll have an even tighter sense of how these scales work and where they're placed on the neck. Finally, what you do, step 3, is to improvise through the chord progression. You've covered your hand positions, you know what your available notes are, so I'm going to show you how you can take this chord progression and play a solo over it using all of these minor pentatonic E1 shapes. We're now going to take this exact same concept of following the chord changes and apply it into a major chord progression. This chord progression is going to go from F to B flat, C, and then F. Now, each chord here is only going to go for a duration of 2 measures. It's going to make you move your hand a little faster. It's going to make you think a little faster. Again, all of these chords are contained within the key of F, but instead of playing the F minor pentatonic, or F major pentatonic, we're going to move our scale around to accommodate the chord progression. We're going to try and take this again in 3 steps. First step is to acknowledge where your roots are. Second step is to play the scales, and finally to improvise over the chord progression. So, step 1, we're going to play the high roots this time, just to switch it up of all of our chords. Our F is going to be located here in 10th position. For B flat, we're going to move to 3rd position. For C, we're going to move into 5th position and back to F in 10th position. Now remember, since these are major pentatonic scales, you're going to want to use your 4th finger to play each of these roots. Okay, if you were able to make your way through playing the roots, you're definitely ready to start applying the scales. We'll still be starting from our high roots, and we're going to play our scales as 8th notes. Now, since the duration of chords is only 2 measures each, we don't have time to take the scale all the way down and all the way back up. So we'll be playing from our high root, and we'll be ending each scale down at the low root. Again, we've got 8th notes, so make sure you're alternate picking with your right hand. Again, one thing you can do is to take the same idea and play it from the low roots. Always starting from high roots and low roots. The more ways you do it, the better you understand what's going on with these chords and with the scales that apply to them. Finally, you can improvise over this chord progression once you're comfortable enough playing the scales. Here, we're going to go through the chord progression 2 times to give you a longer solo and to understand how you can move these shapes around to create a solo going over a major chord progression. I hope this episode has given you an idea of how you can now solo through major or minor chord progressions using simply the major pentatonic scale shape E4 or the minor pentatonic scale shape E1. Be sure to visit the website improvisingwithknowledge.com. You can download everything that we played today as PDF files. You can play along with the jam tracks to now see if you can take the same 3 steps to solo over different chord progressions. You can sign up for the newsletter, find out about what our upcoming episodes are going to be about, and information on the book release. Next episode, we're going to be covering chord progressions that contain both major and minor chords.